to Born Poor, Die Rich. We have Dr. Rowe with us once again. Hi, Dr. Rowe.
Hi.
Great. So today we thought, in the midst of all this uncertainty, and here in Singapore, we're actually coming to the close of, or rather, we're slowly opening up our economy on Monday, where kids start to go back to school, even though it's slightly staggered. Some businesses will start to open. We still can't eat out. We still can't, go in groups. Visit your parents unless they're elderly and there's no one else to care for them. But we're starting to see some normalcy. But at the same time, we've also been reading lots of reports that there's going to be lots of jobs that the unemployment in the US is like an all-time high since the Great Depression. I think it's like 14+%, and that's just what's reported. We don't know what's the next wave of jobs. And yeah, I think that just the thought of that and knowing of very close friends around me who have had pay cuts of 10, 15, 20%, or even lost their jobs overnight in a snap of a finger. I thought to tap on the knowledge that you have, and I also have been investing in the property market for some years, but definitely want to hear from your perspective, because this is one of the key messages that you shared with me 8-9 years ago about how can you recession-proof your income, come what may. Then we wouldn't know if we were going to hit COVID or Brexit or whatever. Exactly. And the same moving ahead. I remember you looking at myself and Joanna in the eye and saying, you need to do this for yourself, create this future for yourself and your family. And I'm just so grateful for that message that you shared. So yeah, maybe you could tell us a little bit about that experience. What do you see in Asia when you were here, and your heart for the message as well?
I think the greatest challenge for you all there is that you have such an ability to earn pretty good incomes. Your tax structure, etc., works in your favor. And right. I think because historically you're incredibly productive, people take a lot of pride in that. And so your identity becomes what you do. And that can be a challenge, I think, for the new generation, if you like, the millennials that are coming through, the people that are actually seeing the world in a different way. And now we've got a recession on our doorstep, which is being triggered or activated in a more accelerated manner by COVID. So, for those of you that are watching, if you're thinking, well, I've got a good job does not mean a long-term life protection. It just simply means that at the moment you've got a good job. Unfortunately, as Daniel's saying, people are coming back to work either to no job or reduced income. I started looking at this in 2000. So when we came out of the 2000 period, just after the millennial, there was an interesting period, and we'd kind of gone through a little bit of a mini recession then. Yeah. I was earning good salary as a self-employed consultant, around about £1,000 a day. I could go out and sell myself because I had a specialist area. But what I realized very quickly was if I wanted to do what I'm passionate about, I couldn't do that. So to put this in perspective, there was 2 earthquakes in Turkey. I ended up in Turkey trying to help out there. I spent 8 weeks giving up my time, but then I realized I need some more money. I can't do what I love to do and help other people and still have to work. So I made a decision then that something had to change. So I started looking at real estate 2000, 2001. And although I was a highly paid consultant, I realized if something happened to me, I got no protection at all, absolutely none. And I read the Robert Kiyosaki books, etc. And that's what gave me the insight to start to do something different. I've been looking at it for many, many years, talking about it, trying different businesses. And the lovely thing that appealed to me about real estate is historically it continues to grow and different markets are different. But I didn't just want the capital growth. What I realized quite early on, and I went through some trainings, 2001, 2002, was that I wanted passive income. And I was looking at people in my profession who were 5 to 10 years older, who'd been working there for years, and suddenly they'd lost their jobs, or their career had plateaued off, or they were reaching a point where you could see they'd lost their shine for what they were doing, which 10, 15 years before they had. But because they'd locked themselves in to this career, they built no back.
Okay, I think we've lost him. But the idea is that he was talking about how these people that have been working so hard in their jobs, it becomes part of their identity. And they're working so hard over the years that, if the job is suddenly gone or they've made redundant, there's they just don't know what to do. And I remember that as well, because I've spent quite a number of years in the military myself. And when I first left to join the Prime Minister's office, and I was looking at my contacts on LinkedIn and looking at Facebook, I had thousands and thousands of contacts, friends, but a lot of them were in a very small and close circle. And I realized, wow, how do I even start thinking of an alternative area that I can grow in? And thankfully, I'm very passionate about helping teams, helping people grow in, and that is an area that I still love to serve in today. But the thought of it is, I remember when I was first starting out in my career as well, that I would work so hard, and at the end of the year, when I get my bonuses or when I get my my salary increase, and I think it was maybe like $200 or something for a whole year worth of work. My salary went up by 200, and I would celebrate. Or I could work for 4 or 5 years and hoping for the next promotion. I remember having lots of angst, whether or not I would be able to get promoted or not. And I see others get promoted. Yes, I'll feel happy for them, but at the same time, I was wondering, when is it my turn? Or a lot of the conversation was angst around why is this guy getting promoted and not this other person? But I think lingering at the back of everyone's mind is why not me? When is it going to be my turn? And I think that sapped a lot of my emotional energy. And I think in turn, how much do people get in a promotion? I think then we were looking at maybe $4, $5, $6, $7, $800 of a jump in your salary. And when I learned from Dr. Rowe about property and investing in property, I realized that, hey, if I were very wise in the way I steward my resources, I could then invest in a property, and it would then generate for me, perhaps even $2, $3, $4, $500 a month. Not and it's like almost the equivalent of a pay rise or giving myself a bonus. So this was then taking greater ownership of my financial the way I manage my finances for my family, and at the same time being able to contribute to my work in a way that I wasn't just gunning for the next promotion. I found myself much more free to be able to just do my best work, to be less competitive with the people around me. When it comes to ranking, then you're always being ranked against another person. And if one person gets promoted, there's always a quota of who gets promoted, who doesn't get promoted. It became very competitive. Yes, we can see you. Thanks for jumping back on.
Sorry, I keep jumping on and off. I caught some of what you were saying there. Can I just jump in and add something here, Daniel? The other thing that concerned me was, and you just picked up on it, is because I was at a certain age, there's a lot of status attached to credibility, credentials, PhD, all the stuff that I had. And I sort of looked beyond that, and I was doing a lot of personal development with Tony Robbins and various people like that. And a lot of these questions I was asking myself in the personal development world were very different to the working profession. And those questions were, who do I want to be in 15 to 20 years? How do I want my life to be in 15 to 20 years? How do I want my married life to be, my family life to be? I saw my father work very hard and die at the age of 46 years of age. And everything kept coming back to choice, having choice, having choice, having choice. And the more I asked honest questions about my career, I actually didn't see around me people that had choice. People were working very hard, climbing up the corporate ladder, working longer hours, bigger mortgages, bigger salaries, then bigger cars, more outgoings. And it became this increasing spiral where I was seeing my bosses working weekends and spending less time with their kids. They were going in the opposite direction to how I wanted my life to be. That's when I asked a different question. And for anyone watching today, my question is simply this for you. What do you need to do in order to achieve the lifestyle that you want in the future? So forget career or anything else. What profession, what business, what asset class, what opportunity do you need to pursue in order to have that lifestyle? So I worked backwards from the lifestyle then. And what I realized is, yes, I might want an extra 100 grand a year, but if I did that in a job, I'd have to work harder. Whereas that could be achieved through another type of business. And property seemed the most logical to me when I looked at the numbers, simply because if you look at the property business and you don't focus on capital growth, it will always produce a passive income because everybody needs a house, a home to live. In the United Kingdom, we have a population that's growing faster than the number of houses that are available. And we've had that problem for about 25 to 30 years, and we will continue to have for years to come. So I looked at it and I thought, supply and demand. If I could buy assets where more people wanted those assets and rented them, and I could create a little bit of cash flow every single month and give them a good home, I could actually get the lifestyle I want without pursuing the titles and all the stress that comes with that. That was the shift for me. It was a mindset shift before a bank account shift.
Yeah. And I as you shared that, I just recall this moment where then I was working in a very stressful position. And I saw my big boss, someone that if I were working very hard and I did well, in maybe another 10 years, I would be in exactly his shoes. I don't even know if I'll be in his shoes. It depends, right? If they promote me. But I remember one day I was queuing up to go to his office to clear a piece of work, and here it comes he comes storming back, and then he scolds his PA and he says, "Why do you book all my appointments back to back? I don't even have time to eat lunch. I don't have time to go to the toilet." And it was funny for us because the poor lady got chewed off, but at the same time, that was also a big mindset shift. Like, do I really want to work to be in his shoes? Granted, he's doing great work and very noble work, but at the same time, at what cost is that work? In terms of his energies, his time, family life, all the other aspects of life that I personally wanted to be rich in. So it's not just about money. For those of you who may be wondering what Born Poor Die Rich and haven't really been following us, the goal is not just about money, but the goal is to be rich in the different areas in life, and which is why Dr. Rowe is such a big mentor of mine, because he has designed his life in a way that he has freedom of time to spend with his lovely children, his wife, in areas of his passion, and helping people all around the world.
So what the listeners or the viewers might not know about you is last year you took a holiday to the States whilst your wife was over there. I mean, we're not talking about a couple of weeks here, are we? How long were you there for?
We actually went for 6 weeks, and that was always a big dream of my life.
But how difficult would that have been for you if you'd been back in employed status?
It would be almost impossible, I think, because you just don't have that much leave, isn't it? And
it's those magic moments. I remember you sending me photographs from a park and being with the kids in different parts of the city.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing to focus on for the listeners here. I know we can go into the mechanics of this further into the various videos that we do, but you have to get the mindset shift first. That's that first gear. I know people want to go to fifth gear and get passive income coming in, own assets, but there's kind of a first gear you have to go through. And once you've broken through that first gear, the question I get is, well, what's the next step? And I think there's 3 ways to approach this. One is, first step is you find someone that's already investing in that country or that marketplace, and you give money to them to get a return back better than you're getting in the bank. That's a safe way to do it, a sensible way to do it, and it gives you a chance to see that it works. The second step is then maybe a joint venture. So you say, well, let me bring some money to the table now. Instead of just getting a return, I'll take some of that money and I'll go and do a deal with this person. So you can actually test the strategy yourself without physically going full on to do it. And then the third step is you then go buy and own the assets yourself. And that could be done over a year, 2 years, 3 years. So that way it doesn't feel like a rush. You can still enjoy the journey of your career, but you're also slowly walking into the sea instead of diving into the deep end straight away. That could be a sensible way for the ones that are watching who want to do it in a more sort of strategic way, Daniel.
Yeah, and it's quite funny when I speak to people who are keen to learn about either investing in property or wanting to invest in property themselves. They always ask, tell me more about how this works. And it's quite funny because you essentially buy a house, you try to buy it below market value, you renovate it to a good standard, you rent it out, tenant pays you money, and end of story, right? That's how you get money, passive income. And I always remember the quote by Warren Buffett to invest in something that you can understand. And I think property is something that everybody can understand. It's a very straightforward business model. Yeah.
And then there's the subtleties underneath that. So, for example, you completed on a property, I think, last week, but the work that went into that, it's having the team on the ground, it's having the contact, it's having the builders, it's having, if you need estate agents, letting agents.
Absolutely.
And for a lot of people, they say, well, that's hard work. And I think, well, To me, what's hard work is getting up at 6, going an hour, hour and a half to work, and then an hour back, 2 hours a day, and then spending 8 hours for somebody else, maybe 9 hours, and
Mm.
doing that. And when you stop, not getting paid for that again. Whereas with a property deal, you put the work in and it pays you for life. It's an income for life for as long as you choose to hold it. And that was
Yeah.
another big wake up call for me in 2001. I was thinking, crikey, if I carry on working for the next 10 years in my profession, if I stop or get ill like my father got ill, I've got no income coming in.
Yeah.
Whereas if I buy 5 and 15, I mean, we got to about 40 in our first year or so. But if I buy 5 properties or 10 properties and I do nothing else, and I hold those over time, they will continue to pay me, whether it's 1,000 a month in total, or 2,000 or 5,000.
Yeah.
But to put that same work in, I mean, the average income in this country is about £30,000, which is what, 60,000 Sing dollars a year.
Mm.
People are working 40, 50 hours a week for that by the time they've left home and got home at the evening.
Yeah. So I mean, it's so true, what you're saying. Yeah. So I think that the message that we are really wanting to share is how, you know, it it is. Yeah, I was just getting emotional as you were sharing about that, which is why I'm getting a bit tongue-tied. The idea that we are literally trading our life, trading our health, our energies at work, and there isn't a certainty. It may not even be work that we enjoy doing. And I know for a lot of people that speak to me, wanting to be coach as well, and they talk about how, if I had a choice, and I ask them, what would life look like if money was not an issue? And they say, oh, maybe I would change to a career of my choice, but I'm passionate about, or some of them might be business owners. They say, I would not would not take on terrible clients just for the sake of paying the bills. So I think it could be just a small tweak. If you choose to work, you could work in a career of your choice and take give yourself a pay cut that you would gladly accept, because now you have money and passive income coming in from other sources. So I mean, it's just opening our mindset to different ways you can really design your life, and go for the life that you dream of. You can create it.
And I think it's about not making it black or white. So for a lot of people go, oh my gosh, I can't get into real estate or property because I'm in a job. And my question is, well, why can't you do both? And people don't perceive that, which is why the walking into it, like walking into the sea, like I said, works. But the other thing, of course, is if you love what you do, nobody's saying stop it. But why not create wealth? Because if something happens to you and your kids don't have that protection, then this is about having assets in place that in the long term produce a passive income. So real estate being, one of those. Yes, you can trade the stock market. It is an active income as opposed to a passive income, but it's a skill that you can learn. Yes, you can create an online business, or create another, more hands-on offline business. All of those things are possible. I think the question to ask, what is a vehicle that would enable me to put a minimum amount of time in to get a ongoing passive income? And for me, it kept coming back to real estate. So the properties that I know you bought and I bought over the years, once they've been bought and they're purchased, the amount of work going into them is a lot less than when you're buying them. In some cases, very little if you use the strategies that you and I, for example, use, which is a government-based scheme, where the government will pay us 5 years, 7 years, even up to potentially 10 years of guaranteed rent. Those type of strategies mean work once, virtually nothing you do for the next 7 to 10 years.
Yeah, and I love that, because then now with the energies that are freed up, not by having gossip conversation on who is going to get promoted and all that, then or not worrying about even the basic needs of bills and creating your family lifestyle, then you can pour your energies and your passions into different areas. For some people, it could be learning a new language, serving a charity, helping the poor, or working in an area or industry that you're really passionate about, but may not necessarily be the best career choice if you want to, say, climb the ladder or make big bucks. But it's not all about money. That's a real irony about Born Poor Die Rich. People think it'll be terrible if you just aim to die rich, but it's what are you rich in? That's what we always get back to.
And in the process of getting to the end of your life, where do you leave that wealth? Who do you leave it with? I mean, wouldn't it be amazing to create something and then leave it to a charity that is for the greater good of the world in the future? So there's a lot of philosophical thought around this conversation, because people might want the mechanics of how to do it, but the mechanics have to start up here and in our hearts first.
Yeah, I know we got to probably end in a minute, but one of the things you shared with me before is why you chose not to travel the world, even though you could easily do that. And I know lots of people want to engage you to speak for them. As you told me, your daughters, Savannah and Liv, if you travel the world for 2 or 3 years, you could be on the biggest stages. And when you come back, you're like, that's not my daughter anymore, or the daughter that I knew. Yeah, because especially at this age, they just grow so quickly. And I think that's one area that you're extremely wealthy in, Dr. Rowe, and your kids are extremely wealthy because you've chosen to invest your time, your love in their lives, and it's something that will stay with them for life. And it's something that I really admire and model in you, and I try to do the same for my children as well.
I appreciate that. And it's not an easy decision because, when somebody's offering a big opportunity, but it's incredibly demanding. And I've seen a lot of speakers go out and it has affected their family life, their relationships. Mine, both my children are quite young, a 5 and an 11-year-old. So having grown up and not had my father around, one of my values is I want to be present in their lives to give them as much of me as I can. So that's not about a title or ego or status, and that's with age that's come. When I was younger, maybe a different attitude because I wanted to pursue success and achievements. But actually, the greatest achievement often is the things that we get for free and we take them for granted.
Or you don't have the time or energy to do it.
I can just hear my kids now. They just come back in, so they've been outside. But it's I think for anyone watching this, know that the concept of richness, and I know you may have heard us say this several times, doesn't have to be around money, albeit that money can provide you with a choice to have a richer life in terms of what you eat. For example, we only eat organic food here. We choose the quality of the food, but it costs more money. So I don't mind having assets that produce that little bit more money to allow me to do that. So it's tiny, subtle things that make the quality of your life better, this richness that we've been talking about. And the first step is a mindset shift. Forget title, forget all of the letters after your name. At the end of the day, that's not how people remember you. They remember you by the footprints you leave on their souls, the words, the phrases, the time, the special moments you gave them because you had the opportunity to do that. And that comes by creating time freedom in many cases.
Love that. Thanks for sharing that. And I know we probably can't convince you to go on a world tour, but we love to perhaps fly you over to Singapore, once this COVID situation is over.
That's 100%. That goes without saying. You and I have to have some face-to-face time again soon.
Yeah, and I think it would be great for some of our audiences to have you be able to, be live in front of them as well. I think they'll be massively be a great.
That would be great. Maybe you could arrange a venue. Yeah, we could do something on a few evenings or whatever. That'd be fantastic.
Absolutely.
Because there's something nice about that interaction. I know everybody's gone online these last 6, 8, 12 weeks. But my feeling is human beings need that connection. We all do. There's a truth in being around somebody face to face.
Wonderful. Thanks for leaving another footprint in our hearts this evening in Singapore. Till the next live, everyone have a great weekend. If you haven't already liked this video, please support us, subscribe to the channel, visit our website at bornpoordiarich.com. And till the next video, see you then.
Take care.